Hi there. Welcome back to the Producer Joe Show. This is episode 23. It's really great having you guys aboard. I appreciate all you tuning in and checking out the different things I do. Uh, I will interview just about anyone in an interesting walk of life, actors, singers. I will not do politics. You can take that one to the bank. I will not be doing politics. Today's show will be interesting because I'm running on fumes from a rough day, a rough week at work. So we're going to have some fun here, and let's hope that I can keep it together. Fortunately, I have a strong guest. Booga is really knowledgeable when it comes to sports, especially when it comes to the NFL, and especially when it comes to I want to say the San Diego Chargers. You know what? Screw it. It's my show. I'm going to do it. Booga, what up?
What up, brother? Hey, I still actually this hoodie I've got on is San Diego Chargers too. I kept all my San Diego stuff. They'll always be the San Diego Chargers. I know that's a weird way to start off the show, and it's going to make some of the LA fans salty, but everybody's salty for one reason or another.
Well, if anybody's salty, it's us because we lost the team.
Damn right.
And it's funny because I was always listening to the broadcasts, and whenever they would screw up and say, and it's the San Diego, the Los Angeles, so as an homage, I almost titled this show NFL Talk, especially, the San Diego Chargers, just almost as an homage to the announcers out there. But anyways, I appreciate you coming on, Dave. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm always doing better than I deserve. I know I've been saying that on the various interviews and shows that I've either hosted or guested on, but it's true. Doing fantastic. Excited to be here. I always love talking Chargers. I talk Chargers with the wall. I say I would, but I do. The wall just isn't a very good other half of the dialogue. So I'm glad to have a great host like yourself here.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're just like at the beginning of the NFL season, and I mean, not even the season, but you know what I mean. So you're going to be welcome all season long. So if there's anything you ever need to get off your back, just look me up, and we'll get you on here for sure. You are a wealth of information, and you're always welcome.
I appreciate that. I'll take you up on that too. As much as a lot of people don't like to hear their own voice, I'm okay listening to mine. I got a lot to share.
Well, it's the only one we got, so we just got to go with it.
Damn right.
So for those who are still like full on into baseball and everything, tell me about what time of year we're at right now when it pertains to football.
Well, I mean, this is the off season. We're kind of getting away from what is the slowest part of the off season, as a lot of the NFL teams, not all of them, but about half the NFL teams, their rookies have reported for training camp. Next week, you're going to have the veterans reporting everywhere. The Chargers rookies just joined camp 2 days ago, and there wasn't a lot to talk about there for about a month. But now, after we've regurgitated all the draft talk as much as we can, we're going to have some real stuff to talk about, position battles, how the staff is shaping up, though we've had a lot of changes there. You could still see some more, but this roster as you see it today is not what you're going to see opening week. So there's a lot of things that are going to transpire in the coming weeks. And this is one of the fun parts of the off season, because all you do prior, you have the Super Bowl at the end of the season, and then there's just draft talk, and you're prognosticating and trying to decide and predict who's going to be this team's draft pick and where the Chargers are going to pick, who they're going to take with their picks. And now we're getting into we know who the picks are. We know who the staff is. It's time to start talking real football. And these Chargers, for anybody who was a fan last year, you're going to be an even bigger fan this year. Maybe not necessarily because of the outcome at its final point, but because there's just so much that's improved. There's a lot that needs improvement, but this team is definitely one of the more interesting teams in the entire NFL.
Now, you touched on something there, and that's exactly why we scheduled this show today, because of the reporting to camp. And this is going to be a two-part show. It's today, and then we're going to do another one next week. You said that this is the rookies reporting this week, right?
Yeah, correct.
And then next week, we're going to talk more in depth about veterans, right?
Absolutely.
Cool. Now, obviously, one of the huge changes for the Chargers was at the head coaching position, and then on down. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what went down?
So last year was just about as disastrous a season as the Chargers could have. The final year under the tenure of head coach Brandon Staley, the man had lost the locker room in a big way. You heard a lot of stuff in the media regarding, tension in the locker room, him losing players, players not respecting his way, Brandon Staley playing favorites among the players. This was all stuff that came out in the media. But the infighting and the losing of the locker room was a lot more serious than was talked about by a lot of the media members out there covering the team. It got to be really bad. You heard things in reports about Brandon Staley only celebrating his guys' birthdays, which, as goofy as it sounds, these are prideful athletes, the best athletes on the planet. And, when you start playing favorites and kind of get as petty to that level of pettiness, it's going to affect people. But when you go 5-12 and your quarterback goes down for the final 5 weeks, and then you lose to the Raiders 63-21, it was time to show you the door. And the same goes for former general manager Tom Telesco. He was out and was quickly snatched up by the Las Vegas Raiders. Maybe that's a topic for another show. But what happens is, during this coaching search and the GM search, you see all these big names, and it's just like any offseason, whether it be players or coaches or general managers. Chargers fans, sitting there waiting with bated breath. What are they going to do? And then you see a name like a Jim Harbaugh, a Bill Belichick, these huge names, the possibility of Pete Carroll. And as Chargers fans, we see those things. We hope for those things, but we don't ever get those things. That being said, the Spanos family, as much as I really loathe them for the majority of my adult life, they've proven by making players like Derwin James the highest paid at his position, Joey Bosa the highest paid at his position, Justin Herbert the highest paid in the league there prior to Burrow's contract and Lamar Jackson's contract. He's proven now that he's willing to spend money. Why he didn't do that when he was in San Diego is beyond me. It breaks my heart. I won't beat that dead horse any more than it's already been beaten, but we hoped for something like that. We wanted something like a Jim Harbaugh. We deserve something like Jim Harbaugh. And lo and behold, the Chargers and Dean Spanos decide to bring in Jim Harbaugh. And along with Jim Harbaugh comes a whole litany of these strength and conditioning coaches. The Chargers staff is doubled or tripled maybe overall. They've upgraded everything. The bolt that you're seeing, the physical complex that they put in there, it's remarkable, state of the art. The stadium they're playing in now, obviously they share it with the Rams. State of the art, one of the most beautiful stadiums in all of professional sports. Dean Spanos has really gone out on a limb and tried to show everybody, listen, I may have been a cheapskate bastard for a long time, but here I am spending all this money. We're going to have to wait and see how it plays out. But the Harbaugh experience is something I'm excited to be a part of as a media member and covering the team. I know all the fans are ecstatic about bringing him in. It is a night and day approach compared to that of Brandon Staley. This Harbaugh staff is so detailed to the fact that the strength and conditioning coach, Ben Herbert, he has these guys putting back all the weight plates where the numbers all line up. The towels are all put in the bin a specific way. The way you leave your locker is a specific way. The way you hang your clothes in your locker, the details.
I like that. I could play there.
Well, and that's the thing is, it's the structure that a lot of these guys don't even know how badly they need it, but can help them. And it translates to the game of football in that as much as it just seems like a bunch of guys running into each other at crazy speeds, when you have the detail stuff covered, it makes the more minute things much easier to pick up and carry out on a daily basis. And that translates to game day when it comes to making adjustments at halftime to kind of go against the grain, or if you have to change what you've been calling early in the season, you just kind of morph into a better team overall. It's what the team needed. We'll see how it translates on the playing field, but night and day compared to what they had under Staley.
Yeah, that was a real disappointment, I'll tell you, because it seemed like for a few years there they were really making momentum, and I thought Staley was a quality coach, and the wheels just came off, as they say, and it's sad.
It was really sad. And I was a big supporter of his, the first 2 years. Now, as gutsy as I would like to consider myself as a play caller, as a former coach of youth football, some of the calls he made on fourth downs were just absolutely ridiculous. The losing the locker room stuff is, technically off the field, but it affects the way that you play
Yeah.
on the field. And I wanted to root from the guy, but you could see it falling apart from the inside out. He was just in over his head. He wasn't ready to be a head coach. Dean Spanos and company took a chance on him. We all wanted it to work out. It clearly did not. And he's no longer the head coach for that reason.
It's funny because it's not really funny. It's more sad that last year the Padres were almost paralleling the Chargers because they had a quality manager and he lost the clubhouse. And it was just almost exactly the same. And the players were pretty much, in my opinion, and from what I heard, just done. Yeah.
When that happens, it can happen in a hurry or it can be a slow burn like it was with the Chargers. Though Staley had his guys, there were guys that he brought in. Other than Khalil Mack, a lot of his guys didn't really perform well when it came to playing football on Sundays, Mondays, and Thursdays. And that's, another reason why they're gone.
Right. You just mentioned that. Did I hear something about there's going to or possibly be more weekday games? Or is that not set in stone yet?
Well, I mean, the NFL would, if they had it their way, Roger Goodell and all his buddies, they'd play football 7 days a week, all year round. It's hilarious to me that the Goodell and company preaches player safety, but yeah, I mean, we're gonna have games on Christmas, and I think Christmas is on a Wednesday this year.
Yeah, and add a game to the schedule, right?
Well, yeah, we've got 18 weeks now, or excuse me, there's 18 weeks, but 17 games. We've had 17 games a couple seasons now. They're moving towards an 18-game schedule. For those of you who are not aware, they're going to do that. At this rate, you have teams playing either more games at home or more games on the road. And that was a sticking point that when they did decide to advance to 17 games, Goodell and company knew that they were going to get them to go to 18, and they will do that in the coming years. They want to expand internationally. That's why you're seeing so many more games internationally. It's why you're seeing players like Amazon with Thursday Night Football. Netflix is going to have football. I mean, everyone
Nickelodeon.
in this pie, it's crazy. And yeah, they're going to be playing games on Fridays occasionally. It's not just Monday Night Football and Sunday games and Thursday Night Football. They're going to be trying to play football as often as they can from that September to January, February window. And it's just going to keep getting bigger, and we'll just hope that the product doesn't get more and more watered down.
Yeah, I'm kind of selfish that way. I kind of wouldn't mind more of it, but I understand the safety aspect of it all. But I know, like, we watch football Sunday and then Monday and then Tuesday is like, okay, well, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Thursday is so far away.
Feels like an eternity. I know Tuesday and Wednesday, I try to guest on as many shows as I can, or if I'm hosting a show, I would normally do Tuesdays and Wednesdays because you got to fill in that void. And the fact of the matter is people are hungry for NFL talk 24/7, 365 days of the year. So when you don't have it being played on the field, there's somebody talking about it somewhere where you can listen to it.
And again, my invitation is out to you if you ever need to come on. And you got this forum right here.
I love it. I won't take advantage of that, but I will definitely get in your ear and let you know when I've got some stuff to put out there that I think is valuable to your listeners. That
no, take advantage of me. Everybody else does.
That's why I won't. I've seen the line is long. I don't need to get in line. I'm not patient enough.
You're a good man. So is there a nickname for the Chargers now because of all their player acquisitions and their coaching staff? Is there a nickname that I've heard about?
So, I mean, we've called them the Baltimore Wolverines at this point because it's like a meshing of former Baltimore Ravens and Michigan Wolverines, which obviously Jim's brother John coaches the Baltimore Ravens. The new head coach or the new general manager, Joe Ortiz, he came over from 26 years in Baltimore, which should be reassuring to fans. He's not Ozzie Newsome. He's not Eric DaCosta, but he's been there watching them do their thing. And they're damn good at it for, a quarter of a century. So the Chargers really got both the head coach and GM that I wanted. But yeah, you're seeing Baltimore floated around there quite a bit. Not Baltimore as Baltimore. And I have a feeling it's going to stick because Harbaugh, he's a guy who's set in his ways. He's a creature of habit. You're going to see them continue to bring in more and more players that he's worked with. In next year's draft, there are several Michigan players that I expect to be very high on the Chargers list as far as the players they're going to be targeting in the draft. So yeah, Baltimore, get used to it, people.
I like that. So it seems on paper to be a pretty strong team. Do you have any questionable areas, any questionable position groups?
So though they have improved in several areas, there are still a lot of question marks regarding position groups on this team. Speaking of Baltimore, you look at the running back position in the running back core. You bring in former Ravens Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. Gus Edwards has been practicing on the side most of the time during mini camp and these OTAs. He hasn't really been a full participant. J.K. Dobbins is coming off another season where he had a torn ACL. It's the second time he's done his ACL. He's had various other injuries, and they drafted Kamani Vidal out of Troy, a running back who you can get excited about, but there's a reason he was a 6th-round pick. The running back position, when your offense features running the ball over and over again, this is your Bo Schembechler 3 yards in a cloud of dust offense. They're going to pound the rock. And when they're done pounding the rock, they're going to run it some more. When you have a beat-up, injury-prone backfield, it definitely provides some worry for fans like me and people like me who understand the game. You look at that, it doesn't provide a lot of confidence for you. The Chargers have a significant amount of money in salary cap space due to Joe Ortiz being a magician. So they're able to make some moves. But, I mean, free agency is long over. The second wave of free agency long over. Who you've got is kind of who you got, and then you're going to pick up scraps from here out unless you make a major trade. Though the Chargers do have the space to do so, I don't know that they're in the market to make a major trade. We'll ask me that question closer to week 8 or 9 right around the trade deadline, and it may have a different answer. But the running back group definitely worries me. Switching gears to the other side of the ball, the cornerback group, there's a lot of inexperience. And, guys, they brought in a Christian Fulton from Tennessee who had a terrible season with Tennessee last year. His PFF grade was nothing to write home about. You have Asante Samuel Jr., who's coming back last year, who flashes at times. He plays really well in coverage, although Devontae Adams is his father when it comes to route running, and he bullies him. So ASJ is not someone who is known to tackle well. In a Jesse Minter defense, who Harbaugh brought over from Michigan, your slot corner has got to tackle well. There's injuries all over that group. They did draft well when it comes to the cornerbacks. I really like Tarheeb Still out of Maryland. He's a guy that not a lot of people knew about, but he's a solid guy, a good tackler, a physical corner. He's somebody who's going to battle for that slot position. And then they drafted Cam Hart out of Notre Dame. He was a guy that I did have going to the Chargers in the draft, though I had him going in the 3rd or 4th round, and the Chargers were able to snag him in the 5th. But that lack of experience, the lack of big names there, the lack of tacklers as a whole from your veteran corners, the cornerback group is another group that really worries me a lot. This is a passing league. When you can't cover, it doesn't matter how great your edge rushers are, your edge guys like Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Bud Dupree, Tuli Pelotu, even though they can get after the passer, and I'm excited to see what the sack numbers are if that group can stay healthy. When you can't cover, you can't cover. And in a passing league, these offensive coordinators are going to be feasting on young corners and guys who have shown, the inability to cover in man schemes. And you're going to have a lot of zone with Minter. You're going to see a lot of triangulation between the corners and the safety on the side where they're playing the X. I'm really concerned with that. And one other group that I would mention is the interior defensive line. Not a lot of experience except for one guy, Poona Ford, who you bring in, who's a little long in the tooth, a 5'11" guy, that stumpy mauler who in his early years in the NFL was definitely a space eater, could occupy 2 blockers, but it's hard to see what he's going to be able to do at this point in his career. There's not a lot of depth there. You've got Scott Matlock, a 6th-round selection 2 years ago out of Boise State. It's not a lot that gives me a lot of confidence. So when you look at a running game that's going to possibly struggle and they could struggle to stay healthy, cornerbacks who can't cover, and an interior that is going to have trouble stopping the run, those are big concerns for me.
Man, some of those names, all those names, you've got those names down. And good. Those difficult to pronounce names. Nice job. I'm impressed.
Thank you very much. I've always been
So,
weird about that. When we had Bull Blitz always up and running, the main stickler that would get you removed from the site is if you were misspelling names. And most of my staff didn't do radio appearances. That was usually just me. But I've always been big on that. You know, I'm as easy as it gets. Dave Peters. It's about as white bread as it gets. And that's not the number one reason why I normally go by Booga. That's been my nickname since a baby. But my first writing job, the editor there said, you know, Dave Peters is awfully boring. Have you got a nickname? And I was like, well, yeah, my name and my family and all of my football comrades back in the day when I played and coached, I was Booga Peters. And he said, bingo, that's who you're going to be. And I just stuck with it since.
nice. Well, I was proud when I finally got that one. Akbar Gamai Bagal. Oh, now I don't have it.
Akbar
Yeah.
Amila.
Yep, that's the one.
I got you, brother.
So the next topic here. Now I'm gonna admit to you that my love for baseball is right here, and football, it's just like right below it. It's only because of my upbringing and whatnot. But so I'm not like well versed, but here's my concern. When I saw Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Everett, Eckler go, I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? And I was legit concerned. Now, you tell me why I should not have that concern.
Well, you have every right to have that concern. Quite frankly, you're seeing all these media members post, you know, their rankings of position groups and their rankings of weapons and such. The Chargers are finishing at 32nd on a lot of those lists, 32nd out of 32 teams because of the players, the aforementioned players you just brought up. Losing a Keenan Allen is the hardest one for me. I didn't know for sure if they would re-sign Mike Williams. He's been injury prone for a player who's a jump ball receiver like him, who's suffered from back injuries, who suffered from lower leg injuries. It was going to be a tough re-sign, especially for what he was going to want to get paid. Austin Eckler, I'm not too worried about. A good receiving option out of the backfield, but for those folks who watched the Green Bay game last year and he was set up to those next gen monitors that monitored his speed and he hit 13 miles an hour. That was the beginning of the end of him for me, as far as being a proponent of him being on the squad. He has truly shown his true colors in that he's very much a me guy, and you know, write and say whatever you want poorly about me for saying that, but that's just my opinion on it. Gerald Everett's a guy who I thought could have got more targets while he was with the Chargers. Just didn't happen throughout the offense, and he didn't see the number of targets that I thought that he deserved. He'll be missed. But especially Keenan Allen, that was Justin Herbert's guy. The rapport that they have built up is unmatchable. Keenan Allen is still probably, in my opinion, the best route runner in the league, and he's north of 30 years old. He's closer to 33 than he is 30. I mean, the guy is up there, but he's so reliable when they're trying to get a first down on third and short, third and long. That was the guy that Justin Herbert could rely on, and he would constantly look to and needed in the clutch. And with that being gone, it's sad, and it's a little scary looking at who they've used to replace those guys. A second round pick in Georgia wide receiver Ladd McConkey, a very quick, reliable hands, not a lot of size. It'll be interesting to see him get off the press, though he's going to be in the slot and off the ball. If these DBs get their hands on him, in the NFL DBs, these grown men getting their hands on him, I'm a little concerned about that. But he can go a little bit. They changed over the tight end room, though they kept Donald Parham. Parham is very unreliable as a blocker. So your starting tight ends are going to be a Hayden Hurst. He's a little injury prone. Another guy they had familiarity with from Baltimore. And then Will Dissly, I was super excited about that pickup. He's the best blocking tight end in the NFL. He can control that C gap out on the end there better than any tight end in the NFL. So for a Harbaugh-led team that's going to pound that rock and run it as much as they have, that will, you know, dispel some of the issues and worries and concerns that I have. But yeah, the wide receiver group, especially the makeover there, is terrifying, quite honestly. Now they're not going to be throwing the ball 40, 50 times a game. But that being said, when you're stuck in those third and longs, in these passing situations, you want to have reliable guys. Josh Palmer, a wide receiver who's been there for a few years, he's somebody that I do think can step up and can be a true number one. Now, he's not a burner, and he's also not the route runner that Keenan Allen is and was with the Chargers, but he's a reliable guy who I think can get it done. Former first-round pick Quentin Johnston, he's going into a sophomore year. He can't have a sophomore slump because his freshman campaign in the NFL was just about as bad as it can get for a guy that saw as much playing time as he did. Wasn't exactly used in the way that fit his strong suits, but when Keenan and Mike would go down, Johnson would come in and try to fill in admirably, but he just concentration drops, big time drops in big key moments, giving up on routes. He's not the greatest route runner. He's not a real quick twitch guy. Be interested to see how they incorporate him into this offense. Get him on some bubble screens, get him in the short passing game, the quick game, and I think he can do a lot. He has phenomenal yak ability. It's just you got to get the ball into his hands, and he's got to catch the damn thing. So terrified about replacing Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, but excited to see what these young guys can do. They brought in a DJ Chark. I don't know that he's a number one guy, but he could be your backup X, a backup to a Josh Palmer. So there is some hope, but these are not guys that are going to put up, huge numbers. They're not going to be 1,500-yard receivers. I'll be surprised if the Chargers do have a 1,000-yard receiver on this entire roster.
You said yak ability. I like that. I really like that. Yards after catch ability. That's a great term.
Well, and that's the thing is Johnston is very capable of doing that. It used to be an Austin Eckler, but he's lost 2 to 3 gears. So though he was reliable in the passing game, there were too many moments when he let the team down. He's a little banged up last year in his defense. That being said, I'm more of the Belichickian ideology that it's better to get rid of a player 1 year too soon as opposed to 1 year too late.
Yeah, David Boston probably should have gotten him a year before we got him. That was I know that was totally random, but to me, that's the worst signing the Chargers have ever.
Huge contract for back then, especially. It was a ridiculous deal, and for him to go one and done, the Chargers ain't a ton of salary cap the following season, and the season after that, it sucked. It was one of the worst. It is the worst, actually, the worst acquisition one and done the Chargers have ever had, and that's saying a lot.
You mentioned Mike Williams. Just a quick note on him. I consider Mike Williams to the Chargers to be the Fernando Tatis of the Padres. It seems like, we've got the highest caliber player and the most potential, but God dang it, always under the bandage, it's just frustrating.
Well, and when you use the 7th pick in the first round on a wide receiver, you want to count on them, maybe not for all 17 games of the season. Players get hurt, they get nicked up. There aren't rest days like there are in the NBA. But Mike was he was too consistently hurt. And with a guy like that's big-bodied, who's constantly going to go up and fight for these passes with back issues and lingering back ailments, it's just not somebody you can count on for the majority of the season. And when you're going to pay a guy big-time dollars and you can't rely on him to stay on the field, unfortunately, it's another guy that it was tough to move on from him. But I have all the respect in the world for the Chargers general manager, Joe Ortiz, for doing just that. It was a difficult decision, but they made the right one.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure you are correct on that one. I was just noticing that sign behind you. I have something very similar.
Which one?
I don't know. That one up there on the top.
It says love you more.
Well, similar, yeah, but this is where my ADHD starts kicking in. What is it? Yeah, it's about 20, 30 minutes. Yeah, this is when my mind starts like. So one of the last few things here is I wanted to talk to you about your prediction, but if we could real quick, I have the schedule on here. Why don't you give me a snapshot of how you see the season going? You don't have to go through every single game. Do you see anything there that just stands out to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, anytime you open with the Raiders, I mean, especially after what happened, that 63-21 drubbing. And real quick, I want to touch on this too, and I'm glad we kind of segued into this. That was one of the best things that could happen to the Chargers. This is the most difficult pill to swallow, but because of that game, Dean Spanos was forced to make a decision. it helped aid the moving on from a Tom Telesco at general manager. It helped get Brandon Staley the hell out of Dodge. As much as that game hurt, and I'll never forget it. I don't think any true hardcore Charger fans will ever forget that game. But it's brought on the ability to bring in a Jim Harbaugh. But opening up with the Raiders is fantastic. I know everybody's all jacked up and excited. And, like I said earlier in the show, you got what you deserve, Chargers fans. You got a Jim Harbaugh, a major coach who succeeded in turning around University of San Diego, who was a winner with Stanford, who was a winner with the 49ers. He's won at every level. And then what did he do last year at the collegiate level? He wins a natty, a national championship with the Michigan Wolverines. I mean, he is a proven winner. That being said, I think everybody needs to pump the brakes, temper your expectations. I think this is about an 8-9 or a 9-8 season. It's a tougher schedule than people think. Anytime you have the AFC North on your schedule, it's a tough go. That's a tough division. Every team in there is a hardcore smash mouth, hit you in the mouth program, and there's going to be a lot of rough games for this Chargers team. Again, 8-9, maybe 9-8 is optimistic. I don't think that's a good enough record to sneak into the playoffs in the AFC. With the AFC conference being as strong as it is, I just don't think that's enough to get it done. Week 12 stands out, obviously, because that's the Harbaugh Bowl. You're going to have Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers facing off against his brother, John, in the Baltimore Ravens. So it'll be exciting to see Baltimore versus Baltimore. And then after beginning the season against Oakland, damn, here I go.
Oakland.
Against Las Vegas, you end the season against Las Vegas, and all you can hope is that's a game that's going to matter. And that hopefully when the Chargers play, oh, God, that graphic.
Sorry, my finger slipped. Sorry.
It's absolutely miserable. Let me remind everybody, Justin Herbert didn't play in that damn game. So quit putting that game on him. He was out the last 5 weeks of the season, with broken rib cartilage and busted finger and busted back and a lower extremity injury that nobody knew about that didn't come out till recently. I mean, the dude was holding it together. Though Chargers fans, I just told you not to be excited about this season. Next year, the Chargers have triple-digit million space underneath the salary cap. They've got over 100 million, or will be around 100 million in salary cap space. They can go after these major free agents. Jim Harbaugh can truly get in his guys. They'll have another draft class that they'll get to bring in. Look for a couple, 2 or 3 Michigan players to come in again. And next year is the year the Charger fans should look forward to. This year, I think it's just going to be tough sledding. And I hope for nothing but the best. I hope they go 17-0 and win a Super Bowl. But I hope that every year. Hope in one hand, shit in the other, see which one fills up first. You know how that old.
It's I'm trying to find a picture. Oh God. Sorry, this is going to take me a second here, but I just have to put this. I just have to put this up here and get your feedback on it. It's coming up right. I think this is a 2-stage question here. Jerry Rice's son. But now that I look at this picture, I'm looking at the bubble helmet, and I can't keep my eyes off of the bubble helmet.
The Guardian.
And now it's my understanding that any player has the option to wear it if they so choose. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, and I love it. It's great. I will tell you this, you're not going to see a lot of skill position players wear it during games, I don't believe. But you're going to see some offensive linemen wear it during games, some interior defensive linemen. Again, it's available to anybody who wants to do it, which I'm proud of Roger Goodell in the league okaying that, because, a lot of these guys, they don't want to cover anything on the helmet. That's the branding, that's the logo, that's what it's like, the shield. But though Brendan Rice is wearing it there, I don't know that you're going to see a lot of skill players wearing that.
Yeah, it's a very unique looking.
I know.
I'm just going to leave it at that. It's just very unique looking. Hey Garrett, thank you very much for your comment right there. I assume that was directed towards both of us, but yes, thank you so much for the comment. Please like and subscribe. Gosh, I hate that term. Please like and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button. God, I hate those terms.
Nah, don't hate it. Embrace it, brother. Embrace it.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking about that helmet, and it reminds me of years ago. One of the Padres wore this hat here to protect himself. And can you hear the bird?
Oh yeah, yes. I
That
thought that was you.
stupid, that stupid bird knows when I'm on, and he just. Anyways, I don't know. I just saw the comparison there between between
I
those
love
two.
it. Well, and here's the thing: like you only get one brain. Anything these guys can do to protect themselves and to avoid concussions and concussion-like injuries, I'm all for it. Again, I don't know how many of these players, especially skill position players, will use it, but I think it's a fantastic idea, and anything to keep the players safer.
Sure, sure, I get that. Um, well, lastly here, I'd like to unless my ADHD kicked in, did you give me your prediction yet?
I did. It was an 8-9 or 9-8. I do not expect them to be able to make the playoffs this season because they
That's right.
feels too tough. You're noticing a big rise in quarterback play all across the league. Like 20 years ago when you had 4 to 5 guys who were great, a bunch of mediocre guys, and then some guys that were just getting kicked off rosters every Sunday. This NFL, there are some very gifted passers of the football. The NFL's getting what it wants in the parity department, and we're kind of blessed to see what we've got here. A lot of young QBs, up and coming guys. Patrick Mahomes may end up being the best of the best when it's all said and done. The AFC is super tough. It's going to be tough sledding for the Chargers, but they've got a tough head coach, a tough organization now, and a tough strength and conditioning department. And it'll be exciting to see how it plays off. I can't wait for the games to count.
Well, I apologize that I missed your prediction there. There's something about this is, as I'm hosting the show, I'm also producing the show, which means I'm pressing all the buttons in here. So eventually I'll get my own producer, but I apologize for that. It's not for a lack of wanting to hear you.
Never need.
Um,
No, I don't need an apology for that. See, I can't do the producing part. So when I do my shows, I just kind of fumble through shit and hope that I get it right.
Hey, I think I'm doing the same thing, but anyways, well, this would be the part of the show where I bid you adieu and I give a teaser as to who my next guest is. And unless there's a change of plans, I could have a guest this weekend. I'm lining up. There was a big hit in the '80s called "Putting on the Ritz," and it was by Taco. And we're trying to line that up right now. Now he's in Germany. I'm in San Diego. So it's like 9 hours ahead of me. So
Wow.
it's kind of a scheduling thing. So if I squeeze him in before you, it may be Taco before you. But other than that, he will be back next week to talk about the veterans reporting to camp, correct?
Absolutely. I look forward to it. Joe, thank you so much for having me on. And don't worry, I'll definitely get in your ear and let you know when I've got some more to share with you.
Oh, dang it. My fingers slipped again.
God, that
Hey,
grab.
that's what we call in our coaching days. I coach too. Motivation.
Boy, if it's not, I don't know what is, because they can never, ever, ever go back to that, especially against the
No.
dreaded Las Vegas Raiders. Thanks a lot
Well,
for
I'll
having
tell you,
me, buddy.
I'll tell you who I think headed that up. And I told you I don't know much as much as you as about football. I think Khalil Mack said, you know what? Because he is one hell of a leader. I think he's the one that just said we're done. And
You know what? So I've actually heard some of that because there was a lot that got leaked that wasn't supposed to get leaked. But what's ironic about that is he's actually a Staley guy. Staley was his defensive coordinator in Chicago. They are very, very tight. But, regardless of how tight you are with somebody and palsy you are, losing is losing. And when you
yeah.
lose to the Raiders the way that they did, inexcusable. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you.
Yep, I hear you, brother. All right. Well, I will shut her down now. I really do appreciate you coming on. We will have you on next week. And please, once again, please subscribe. And if you can ask your friends to subscribe, you will be back on this show even beyond next week.
We'll kind of talk about it off air. But if you would have me on as a regular, like maybe, I don't know, during the season, we'll build the train up and we'll get you a lot of Chargers fans. You have my word.
I like that. I appreciate that, my friend.
I
All right,
appreciate
we're gonna shut her down now, and you have a good afternoon. Appreciate you taking your time.
anytime, brother. I look forward to doing more. Take care, buddy.
All right, brother. I'll check you later.